Chapter 15 of Light on Life's Difficulties by James Allen. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Andrea Fiore. Chapter 15 Light on Good Manners and Refinement. More upward, working out the beast, and let the ape and tiger die. All culture is getting away from the beast. Evolution is a refining process, and the unwritten laws of society are inherent in the evolutionary law. Education is intellectual culture. The scholar is engaged in purifying and perfecting his intellect. The spiritual devotee is engaged in purifying and perfecting his heart. When a man aspires to nobler heights of achievement and sets about the realization of his ideal, he commences to refine his nature, and the more pure a man makes himself within, the more refined, gracious, and gentle will be his outward demeanor. Good manners have an ethical basis, and cannot be divorced from religion. To be ill-mannered is to be imperfect, for what are ill manners but the outward expression of inward defects? What a man does, that he is. If he acts rudely, he is a rude man. If he acts foolishly, he is a foolish man. If he acts gently, he is a gentleman. It is a mistake to suppose that a man can have a gentle and refined mind behind a rough and brutal exterior, though such a man may possess some strong animal virtues, as the outer is an expression of the inner. One of the steps in the noble eightfold path to perfection as expounded by Buddha is right conduct or good behavior. It should be plain to all that the man who has not yet learned how to conduct himself toward others in a kindly, gracious, and unselfish spirit has not entered the pathway of the holy life. If a man refines his heart, he will refine his behavior. If he refines his behavior, it will help him to refine his heart. To be coarse, brutish, and snappish may be natural to the beast, but the man who aspires to be an even or endurable member of society, not to mention the higher manhood, will at once purge away any such bestial traits that may possess him. All these things which aid in man's refinement, such as music, painting, poetry, manners, are servants and messengers of progress. Man degrades himself when he imitates the brute. Let us not mistake barbarism for simplicity, or vulgarity for honesty. Unselfishness, kindliness, and consideration for others will always be manifested outwardly as gentleness, graciousness, and refinement. To effect these graces by stimulating them may seem to succeed, but it does not. Affection and hypocrisy are soon divulged. Every man's eye, sooner or later, pierces through their flimsiness, and ultimately none but the actors of them are deceived. As Emerson says, "What is done for effect is seen to be done for effect, and what is done for love is felt to be done for love." Children who are well bred are taught always to consider the happiness of others before their own, to offer others the most comfortable seat, the choicest fruit, the best tidbit, and so on, and also to do everything, even the most trivial acts, in the right way. And these two things, unselfishness and right action, are at the basis, not only of good manners, but of all ethics, religion, and true living. They represent power and skill. The selfish man is weak and unskillful in his actions. Unselfishness is the right way of thinking. Good manners are the right way of acting. As Emerson again says, "There is always a way of doing everything, if it be to boil an egg. Manners are the happy way of doing things right." It is a frequent error among men to imagine that the higher life is an ideal, something quite above and apart from the common details of life, and that to neglect these or to perform them in a slovenly manner is an indication that the mind is preoccupied on higher things, whereas it is an indication that the mind is becoming inexact, dreamy, and weak, instead of exact, wide awake, and strong. No matter how apparently trivial the thing is which has to be done, there is a right way of doing it, and to do it in the right way saves friction, time, and trouble, conserves power, and develops grace, skill, and happiness. The artisan has a variety of tools with which to ply his particular craft, and is taught, and also finds by experience, that each tool must be applied to its special use, and never under any circumstances must one tool be made to do the service for another. By using every tool in its proper place and the right way, the maximum of dexterity and power is attained. Should a boy learning a trade refuse instruction and persist in using the tools in his own way, making one tool do service for another, he would never become anything better than a clumsy bungler, and would be a failure in his trade. It is the same throughout the whole life. If a man opens himself to receive instruction, and studies how to do everything rightly and lawfully, he becomes a strong, skillful, and wise master of himself, his thoughts and actions. But if he persists in following his momentary impulses, and doing everything as he feels prompted, not exercising thoughtfulness, and rejecting instruction, such a man will attain to nothing better than a slovenly and bungling life. Confucius paid the strictest attention to dress, eating, deportment, passing speech, to all the so-called trivialities of life, as well as to the momentous affairs of state and the lofty moral principles which he expounded. He taught his disciples that it is a sign of a vulgar and foolish mind to regard anything as trivial that is necessary to be done, that the wise man pays attention to all his duties, and does everything wisely, thoughtfully, and rightly. It is not an arbitrary edict of society that the man who persists in eating with his knife be rejected, for a knife is given to cut with, and a fork to eat with, and to put things to wrong and slovenly uses, even in the passing details of life, does not make for progress, but is retrogressive and makes for confusion. It is not a despotic condition in the law of things that so long as a man persists in thinking and acting unkindly toward others, he shall be shut out from heaven. He shall remain in the outer pain and unrest, for selfishness is disruption and disorder. The universe is sustained by exactness, it rests on order, it demands right doing, and the searcher of wisdom will watch all his ways. He will think purely, speak gently, and act graciously, refining his entire nature, both in the letter and the spirit. End of chapter 15. Recording by Andrea Fiore.